It's a pleasure to welcome the next speaker, Matt Harasymczuk from Poland, who is passionate guard of the clean code concept, of the writing the software the right way, expert in agile development, and also he's playing with 3D printers and very interesting background. He will talk about this craftsmanship in the software industry.
Great. Здравейте. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Здравейте. Hi. I'm glad that Peter had this talk before because I will be mentioning many of those particular disciplines, issues that he was covering on his talk. So basically, I'm a developer. I'm a technical person. But once I was an agile coach, I had a great pleasure to be the first person to go with the agile to the Polish government. I was the leader of the transition for the Polish government, for the Ministry of Interior, for bringing the agile practices. But what's the most important about those kind of stuff is not about the whole Scrum thing, like the Peter said, but about the understanding of the agile principles, agile methodology, and agile philosophy, which is the most important part of this all. So Kent Beck told the agile was originally about bridging the gap between business and development. And then this is most important part, because like Peter mentioned before, we have a problem between business and IT guys that they are not communicating with each other. They have some basic stuff like requirements, documents, they have backlog with the Scrum process, and they have any other issues. They prevent them to have very good conversation about the product, about delivering the product. Therefore, as 20 years ago, around 20 years ago, 13, I suppose, one of the most experienced developers on the world connected with each other, and they thought about making something that is called the Manifesto of the Agile Software Development. This is very important. It's called the Manifesto of the Agile Development. It's not Agile Manifesto. It's Manifesto of the Agile Development. And I will cover that in the next slide. Because these 4 values, like Peter said, the customer collaboration over the contract negotiation. The first line is processes, people and interaction over processes and tools. Working software over the documentation, and responding to change over the following plan. This is the most important part of this all. So basically, there's a division in the agile world right now, because most of the people are doing Scrum, like Peter said, are doing Scrum, not agile. They are not flexible. I really do like the word flexibility, and therefore, Dave Thomas, one of the original Agile Manifesto, or Manifesto of the Agile Software Development authors, said the agile is dead. Long live the agility. So he told that the agile became de facto the industry of the coaches, industry of the people who are coming to the companies and they are selling the stuff that you have to comply with the agile. There's a Scrum. I have the perfect solution. I'm the only guy who will guide you and through the whole process, and you won't fail. If you do it other way, that probably would be a failure of you. So basically, I have to tell you that the agile is not only about the processes. I really like this picture because agile is not only about Scrum, it's also about products, about your business, about the flexibility of your business model, about communication and organization, about communication schemes, about IT architecture, which is very strange because the technical stuff, especially for agile coaches, are very indistinguishable because they are mostly project managers, and they are not technical person. And you have to take care about the quality, about the craftsmanship practices, and of course, the automation. The DevOps culture that rise several years ago has become more and more popular since then. So basically, we have to focus on delivering the business values. The most important values are here, like time to market, the value to market. So how much business value are your software generating for your customers in order to provide the value for them. So basically, there's all tracks of talks about those principles. But what do we have as a software engineers to delivering those values? So one of them are small and frequent releases. Martin Fowler said that the continuous integration is about continuously integrating your code. When each of your team members is at least committing to the trunk, that was a time of SVN, but right now it's a Git, so probably to the master branch, all of your code, merging it, testing, and be able to deploy or be able to release your software very frequently. And this is one of the most important part about this small and frequent release process. When I was working for one particular company back in my early days, we were releasing once a week. It was very good. But the projects that was delivered on this 1 week period was very large. And there was a constant fear that something might be changed, something might be broke within your process, it might change the software, and you have to roll back the whole release. So therefore, we had this release process very early on the morning, on the Tuesday, when every developer are in the company, and we were releasing the software. For the whole our customers. So then we make a shift towards the releasing easier and releasing more often. Why is that important? Because I had a great talk on one of the previous conference with one guy from GitHub. He was responsible for the two-factor authentication. He was mentioning that he delivered this feature over a 1 year period. So he was constantly coding. Right now we have Twilio, so he could just plug in the Twilio API, send them SMSs, and so on. But back then, he was doing all the telecom stuff on his own, testing different mobile carriers. When you cannot reach your SMS, you have to call or something like that with the code. You have different issues with the countries, carriers over the world, and so on. So he was developing this feature over a year. And how to continuously deliver such a big feature? It's not a problem if you have one trick that he make with his software. Because in GitHub, each Git push is connected with the release on the production server. OK, so how do you deliver the feature securely so you can work, you can develop your code and have these constant releases on the production server? You use something that is called a feature toggles. Feature toggles is basically an if statement that gets some part of the code. If user is in the group of beta testers of the feature, show this feature. If not, old plain website. There's multiple frameworks for several languages, most modern languages out there to cover this feature, and you don't have to do this if statements and so on. This frameworks provides you with the ability to clean up the code afterwards when you release the feature, or maybe you get the administration panel when you can switch on or switch off your feature, and dynamically it should change the behavior of your website on the spot. So basically, he was developing. The first, there was if the user, the logged user, is in the beta testers of the feature, and on the first time, he put his name on the beta testers. So only he was seeing this feature. So he put the code on the production, everything works. He was using that two-factor authorization. When he thought that this is stable, then he moved further, and then he put all of his colleagues. And then, gradually, the beta testers from public, and then he rolled out on the production for every people in the world. What do you think? How many lines of code has the final commit that puts the feature for the 1 year development feature on the production server and release it to the public on the very, very worldwide scale. How many lines? One line. From is feature hidden, true, to false. And how many lines would have a rollback if the feature broke and doesn't work for the people? Also one. Just to change the flag to the opposite value. And that's the idea of continuous deployment. How to create a feature, constantly deploy, develop the feature, and have the possibility to release and deploy separately. So when I was doing a consulting for one of the big corporation, the CIO, the person who was responsible for IT, attacked me on the very first meeting, and he was like, "What do you think about this Scrum thing and so on? That we have to release every other sprint and so on, and you are trying to push us towards the 1 week sprint, so we have to release over 1 week." And we don't want to publish our safety features, our secrets, company secrets about new project, because projects are like very long. And we don't want to put those information on the public every week just for people to see it. And I said, why do you connect release to the deploy? And he said, why not? This is the normal standard practice. Yeah, you can integrate your code. You can deploy on the server. You can have these changes, and then, when the specific time, when the requirements, and the release should be a business decision. Like, for example, you can prepare the Christmas page, Christmas layout for your index page, and then, on the 23rd or 22nd of December, just flip the switch, and the main page changes. You can prepare like right now. And if something broke, you have a lot of time to fix it, a lot of time to integrate with the code, and any other feature that will be pushed would be integrated with your source code. And this brings us to one very nice thing. It calls release trains. When you have this feature toggles, you can release and deploy separately. So you can deploy over once a week or twice a week, or it depends on the platform. So for example, when you have app stores or when you have the application stores that is independent of your possibility of releasing. So for example, Apple certification takes like 3 weeks to do or something like that. You can push your code with the hidden features, like on the B project, you can see on the picture. So feature A is complete, and it's released on the first week. Feature B is complete, feature C is complete, but feature D is started by hidden. And then, after the next week, we change the flag to visible the feature and to develop another features. It exposed the problems of the integration on the very early stage. And this is one of the tools that helps us to deliver. By the way, this presentation is online, versus.matagile.com. This is on the bottom corner, on the top corner. You can download it. It's already online, this presentation. OK, so when you change your scope for developing things, when you change your scope for driving your teams, you start to noticing that your teams are divided into 3 types of teams: infrastructure teams, client app squads, and feature teams. What it's about? So infrastructure teams are the teams who create infrastructure for continuous integration, for continuous delivery, who creates the tools for delivering, for deployment, who takes care about your code, who takes care about your software, about your processes, technical processes. The client app squads is like, for example, Android team, iOS team, or web front-end team, or if you have thick client teams. And feature squads are the teams that actually provides you with the features like searches, like playlists, or your for example, list of products, or user login, user information, account changes, and so on. This gives you one more thing. It provides you with the possibility of separating your features between themes. And this leads you to have a smaller modular architecture of your software. And this gives you an insight. This gives you an introduction to going for the microservices world, which is a very nice buzzword right now. And Kuba Kubrinsky told us that there's a lot of companies that are talking about microservices, and there are actually few companies that are making it and doing it right, because microservices is not about modularizing your application and having it spread on the cloud, and that's it. It's about resiliency, it's about some other very important stuff to have this topic covered and to have this possibility to release and to maintain your product sustainability between very small chunks of your application, and to connect the dots when you have a larger projects. You take one of your components and you create a project from the components. Okay, there's a great book. It's called Lean Startup from Eric Ries. I really recommend this book. How many of you have seen this book or have read it? Okay, only a few of us. This book is, in my opinion, one of the best books about not only technical stuff, because Eric Ries is a technical person, but currently he's doing a business development, and he's a product owner. And he has great insights about the technical stuff and business stuff and how to mix it. And I really do like the Lean Startup principles, because he get it right, in my opinion. He connects the dots between the technical stuff and how to use those practices in order to push the things on the production earlier, have to create more value for the people, how to deliver to the market your application first, sooner, how to create more and more market penetration, and all those stuff that we have talks on this conference here. So basically, there's a lot of business books out there, but this one is very distinct because it's written by the technical person and a very business kind of language, and it connects the dots. It connects the technical world with the business practices, and it tells us a very nice story about 3 distinct feature delivery cycle. So it's about building a thing. So you build a prototype. You build, for example, and this is an example from this book. So one product owner says that he wants to have a chat on his application. So he has a product list, and the hypothesis was that when we have a chat, when we have a possibility for user to interact with a real person, we can increase the trust of the people, and we can sell more products. So they built not only a prototype, because he said, hold, let's check this idea. And he created a GIF with the words coming off, and with this GIF, just GIF image animation, and when the people click on the chat, it pops up with the small alert window, and he said, I'm sorry, there is no chat right now, but if it would be a real chat, how much would you like to use it? And there's a small poll to vote from 1 to 10. And after this experimentation, it occurs that more than 90 people didn't use the chat at all. 90% of the people didn't use the chat at all. And all of the people who click on the chat voted, I wouldn't do that, I'm just clicking by the mistake or something like else, and they dropped the feature before they started to developing it. And he said, and this is a brilliant idea, not test your code. Testing your code is very important and so on, but test your ideas. Build a prototype, ship it on a production, take the information, the data from people, learn, whether it's feasible or not, whether change or persevere, yeah? And then, based on your learning, do the next iteration of building, measuring, learning, building, measuring, and learning. And this is the whole cycle of delivering the stuff, learning about behavior of your components. And this is a lot of things. I will leave this table only for reference for those who would like to download this presentation, because it lists the technical things, not only technical things, but it lists things that supports these stages. For example, continuous integration helps you with building stuff and delivering to the production earlier, faster, sooner, easier. And when you do that, you will have a better possibility to measure, like a split testing. So, for example, when you have no idea whether your people would like to, whether your customers would like to use your product, when you expose, for example, your most expensive products on the first page, or maybe most frequently bought product, so you create two versions of your website, and you split the user flow for 50% on the most expensive part and 50% on the most frequent bought stuff. And then you see, you learn how the behavior of your customers are. And when you learn, you can create new hypotheses, you can create a new trends and apply those scientific methods that are existing in the research fields for a long time, that it's proven that works upon your product, upon your delivering of the software. Okay, there's one company currently who is making it very, very good. I really do like this. I really do like those example. Spotify. Just look at the youtube.com for Spotify engineering culture. It's 13 minutes long video about how the Spotify. There's two parts of this video, but I really do recommend. The first part is really the essentials. Spotify is in the 13 minutes. It's how they connect the dots, how they created from the single monolithic application the distinct modules, how they separate the architecture of the application in order to provide the releasable, the distinctly releasable elements that different teams can support, develop, and support. Using Scrum is very good practice. I do like Scrum. I have been working with Scrum for like 6 years right now. I'm doing a part Scrum, part Kanban, because for the maintenance issues, for example, bug fixing or just other elements like maintenance on the production, incidents, and so on, the Kanban is great because you can focus on the most important topics. You have this work limits, work in progress limits when you have to focus on particular task and so on. But for the development of the whole and for the whole product, the Scrum is great. And this company makes the best of using both two elements. So they are talking about how they implement those features, the techniques, the technical disciplines, the practices towards the business agile world. Okay. If you want to lower the time to market, there's several techniques how to do that. For example, test-driven development allows you to be sure, allows you to refactor your code. If you, especially when you have test-first development, and Peter was telling us about that, so you create the test just before creating a feature. Let's make a very simple example. What is to convert, for example, 1 kilometer into meters? It's about 1,000 meters, right? It's very simple. So you write a test like 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. Okay, how many meters are in 0 kilometers? 0. Okay, in minus 1 kilometer, it's For example, you throw an exception, or just -1,000. It depends on your business needs and so on. So you create such simple tests, and then you write code to convert. In our case, it will be multiplication and small if that is checking whether the argument of the function is negative or not. And that's the simple idea. The harder things is to create this more sophisticated things. But if you start with so simple as small task, and when you mock your services, and when you're doing test-driven development, right, it gives you a lot of possibilities to refactor your code, and it gives you one more thing, and it's very important for the next few business values to deliver. It's something that's called emerging architecture. Does anybody heard about emerging architecture? So emerging architecture, several of you. So emerging architecture is not putting the architecture of your software up front for the so-holy called gardeners or architects or whatever, but to emerge the architecture from your code, to refactor after adding the features, to have possibility to refactor your code, to create, and there is an architecture of your application that is emerged from your code after the features are delivered. You have to have this like basic frameworks and so on, but the decision whether you use MySQL database or file system storage or NoSQL database or something like that, it's not an architecture decision. It's a technical decision of the people who are currently involved with the product, with the development of such things. And it gives you one more thing. It's called simple design. When your design is simplified and is exactly pinpointed to what you have to do with your code, what you have to deliver for your business values and so on. So simply design. When you create only, and this is compliance with this keep it simple rule, and you ain't gonna need it. Yagni rule, what was mentioned before. So you just write code to fulfill your needs. Just to test your hypothesis, deliver, check, learn, build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn, and to be on this loop. Increased flexibility. This is about releasing software that is easy to maintain, easy to refactor, and these techniques of the extreme programming world, these practices, technical practices, technical craftsmanship practices, gives you a possibility to have this application, to have this software that is easy to add the features later on. So when you apply those rules, you could be easier to maintain, easier to add features in the next following years. Increase visibility, so increase your visibility on the market. When you create, there's something called behavioral-driven development. How many of you know that? Behavioral-driven development. So you create a test specification, how the users are behaving on your website, and then you try to create a software that complies with those behaviors. This is written in the very plain English language. It could be translated into other language, like Bulgarian also, and this is converted to the test in the code, and you test the specification. You write the stories in the given when-then scenario, and then it's execute and validates your software. And this provides lower cost software, because evolutionary design gives you a possibility to deliver the software that is fit for your need, and test-driven development gives you ability to focus on delivering the features and delivering the software. And this, of course, increases your product lifetime with the development test and continuous integration, because it gives you a possibility to release more often, more frequently. And I will leave you with one of the most profound quotes I found on the Agile world. This is Tony Groot's quote: "Agile is not destination, it's a direction." It's not like you can go left or right or so, but you can go further. It's not when, are you agile? No. You can be more flexible, you can deliver more, you can adjust to your customers' need even more, even better, and that would be all. Thank you very much for listening to me here.